Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Juicy Podcast. Today I'm joined by Antonette. She is the force behind GCUC Africa. I don't know if you heard, but we're going to Africa this September and we're super excited about it. So we wanted you to get to know Antonette like we do. So here we go. Antonette is building something deeply important, a locally led platform that supports co-working and community builders across Africa. Africa is not a single story, and what Antonette is doing is creating space for many stories, many cultures, and many ways of working to be seen and supported. I'm so glad you're here, Antonette. How are you today?
I am very well. I'm very excited. And I think I'm absolutely grateful for getting to this stage and for where we are at within this journey.
Yeah.
It's been super awesome. And it's been, I want to say, close to 12 months in the making.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, these things
yeah,
take time.
it does.
Yeah,
It does.
awesome.
It does.
So it is morning here in Austin, Texas, but it is not morning in South Africa. So what I want to know is, how did you start your day today? What is your routine to get yourself into the morning?
Okay, so this morning I went to gym, which I try and do
Amazing.
at least something physical in the morning. Yesterday
Mhm.
I went on, because I'm absolutely spoilt by living in Cape Town. So I started the day on the promenade, and running outside just
Mm.
sort of gives me clarity of thought. So either one is good for the soul, but at the same time, I think once one gets to a certain age, you've got to activate the body maybe a little bit more in the morning than what you usually did before. And I find that that's the best way for me to sort of get my day going. Just lining up the thoughts, knowing what you're going to do first, and just digging deep and finding the energy as well as the motivation for the day.
Yeah,
Something
love
physical.
that. Love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I just got done. I did prayer, meditation, took the dogs for a walk, which is, I mean, having 2 dogs is a huge commitment, but I feel like if you
Yeah.
have animals, like, you have to walk them. So they get 2
Yep.
walks a day, and I'm like, "Ugh, I gotta walk the dogs." But then I'm always so happy I did. It's such a nice way to
Yes.
start the day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
love that.
And I think that also
Okay,
for me, getting up early means that you also beat the traffic. So
right.
get a head start, get in there, and know that you're fine.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, for those that are just meeting you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your work?
Okay. So specifically with regard to co-working, I'm proud to say that I started in 2003. And that was even before co-working was a
Wow.
term. I think it was very much of
Mhm.
serviced office environment. And
Mhm.
the first co-working space in South Africa opened in 1994. So it's not as if it's not something that we've not been doing. We've been doing it all along. But being part of the industry and watching it evolve, I think that's what excites me. So in 2003 was serviced offices, and then it was still member going into an office behind closed doors. And
Mhm.
now, over the years, you've realized that there's so much more that the co-working space can offer. And it's not just about, oh, yes, you've been provided a desk and a chair. There's the community element, there's the collaboration and all of that. So I have close to, is it 20 years experience within the industry? And it's been good. And I think
I love it.
it's been one of those things as with the industry grew, I grew as well. And I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
great. And what is your kinda day-to-day job?
So I head up business development for Workshop 17, which is one of the South African service providers. And then we've got 10 locations in South Africa and 4 in Mauritius. And I've been with the company for 6 years now. And prior to that, I was with IWG. So I want to say that I did my schooling at IWG. And and I know exactly what were the reasons why I made the change. And I know now, I want to say that what I want to do and what I don't want to do, or how I want to run a space and how I don't want to run a space. So, yeah.
That's great. When were you first introduced to the idea of co-working and the idea that community could be a catalyst for a better workspace?
Ironically, I almost want to say that it was less the idea of co-working, but more the idea of a facility or property being multipurpose. As a
Mm.
child, when you grow up in our neighborhood, you would know that your community center may be your preschool in the morning, and later on in life,
Mhm.
it could be your aftercare. It can then become the place where you then go and play volleyball and everything else for extramural activities. And then that same facility would also become the wedding venue on a Saturday, and on a Sunday it might be the church. So that made me sort of realize that if there's scarcity, especially of property and buildings, the way it works best is if it's shared. And then from there onwards, for me, naturally, I think I gravitate towards co-working. It's all about how do you take this particular asset, make sure that it services the community in which it's in, and what does that community need, and how do you then utilize it. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I love the idea of the community space evolving into all these different activations during the weekends and it really being a community hub. Was there a moment that you realized that the way people were working across Africa deserved more visibility and support? Or was it just a
It start
general?
Look, it definitely COVID highlighted for me, right?
Mm,
Because what happened was during COVID, lots of people were able to go and work from home. But that wasn't true for everybody. Not everybody could pivot
mhm,
and have good infrastructure at home. And I think we, especially if you were in an outlying area within Africa, whether it was South Africa or Ghana or within Nairobi, wherever else you were, um, there's not infrastructure throughout the continent. You know, there are some areas which are well developed, and then there are other areas which are not so not developed at all. So COVID highlighted that if you found yourself in a situation where you were now living in a place with a lack of infrastructure, how were you supposed to work? And over time, I then realized that co-working plays a part in that. So co-working becomes the catalyst where you may not have the proper infrastructure in your home, but if there is a co-working place down the road, that is where everybody's then able to go and sit and do their work. Even if they were working for a corporate business, which under normal circumstances would have been operating from a central business district, the fact that you now had good Wi-Fi and a good cup of coffee, you were then good to go and you were able to carry on working. So definitely COVID, I want to say, accelerated those kind of thoughts in my head.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how did you
Mm.
first discover Juicy and start on this journey to hosting Juicy Africa?
I put it on my wish list. So 2023 was I called it my year of yes. I later discovered that there was a book called, I think, The Year of Yes or
Mhm.
Yes, yeah, where anything that anybody was asking me, I would say, okay, yes, I'm going to do it, or I'll get involved. And the latter part of 2023, I sort of had this on my list whereby I was going to sign up for more and more online webinars and get involved with people that are outside of my immediate area or within my immediate community. And then I latched onto some of the podcasts because all of that became sort of a trend during that time where I could dial in, listen to, participate. And I came across the community. And then from there, it's like, oh, I started following certain people. Like, oh, is that how they're doing it? Oh, is this what they're doing? You know? And it became super exciting now because for the first time, I felt as if I'm in a community of people where they talk my language. They have similar vision and my thinking. Um, and they were operating in a manner which was more collaborative and less competitive. And that wasn't quite the case with what we were doing or what we still were doing. Um, and then I saw, okay, it was the Boston conference that was coming up. And I thought, I'm going. I'm going. And I think my age contributed to it because I feel as if every woman should, at some stage in her life, do a solo trip to an unknown place that she's never been before. And it all sort of tied in. And I said, I'm going to Boston. And yeah, once I was there, I realized, okay, we need this too.
Yeah, and so what was the moment where you were like, "I wanna do this, but it needs to be different for Africa," because I think it does need to be different for Africa, so let's talk about what's different about Africa.
Okay, so for us, I want to say us in Africa, like across the continent, we are so used to sharing things, right? And it's almost necessary for us to share because there is either a lack of or there is spatial gaps or digital gaps across Africa. So because of that, Africans always have to constantly share. So that means that you can't just share a facility, you share a community, you share resources, you share ideas. And I think that the reason why it should or is different for Africans versus other countries is that I almost want to say we've been doing it on our own and in silos. Each person is or each operator is doing things as what they think it should be. And never ever have we actually gotten into a space where we go, okay, how are we going to do and
Mm-hmm.
accelerate this? How do we start? Like something simple would be the amount of commercial space that's being occupied by co-working spaces. It's not really being monitored at this point in time. Yet we can see that there's growth. So how do we as a collective now start going, okay, if we have more of this, then we should be entitled to, or we should be able to implement, or we should be able to grow certain things. So for me, it was looking at what are we doing well and what can we replicate? What can we improve on? And I think that it's going to be best if it's done as a collective, as each person trying to do it on their own.
Yeah, I mean, the spark for Juicy for me was really I went to a half-day unconference around South by Southwest,
Mhm.
and I got to meet all these people from all over the world who were doing co-working. And they were so open and they were sharing business plans were going around. Like everybody was just doing business differently. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, this is amazing. And I got more out of that half day and some really important feedback on some of the things I was doing. And that's when I was like, I need to do this for everybody else because
Yep.
this will help move our industry forward.
Yep.
And I love that you mentioned the collaboration over competition. That's one that we've been hammering since day one, which is, there's plenty of business for everybody. Do not worry about it. Collaborate, don't compete. The people at the top are collaborating and the people at the bottom are competing. And we
Yep.
can all help each other. And I know it
Yep.
sounds very kind of Pollyanna, but I've seen it in
Yep.
action for over 13
Yep.
years and it works.
And I also feel that there's a market for everybody.
Mhm.
Once you have identified who you're catering to, there should be no need for you to try and grab everything. If you're able to sort of know which lane you're going to be playing in and you
Mhm.
do it well, then there's no reason for you to sort of I want to grab that and grab that, because that's actually how you dilute things. And I also feel that sometimes, just coming back to, in some places you'll find that what works in one doesn't necessarily work in another. And very
Mhm.
often that could be even in the same country. It could be in the same region. We even have within our locations across South Africa, what works in Johannesburg does not necessarily work in Cape Town, and vice versa. And hence also what works in Africa may not be working in the US. What happens in the US may not work in Africa. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. One of the things we always do with Juicy is when we license with somebody local because we know we don't know your culture. We don't know what you need. We want to work with you. We don't want to do it for you.
Yep. 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 Definitely.
So, Africa is so diverse. How are you handling the challenge of shaping a Juicy Africa that embraces all the diversity of the continent?
So there is like with us in South Africa, we've got a big community, a co-working community. And then across countries like the Kenya and Ghana, as well as in Lagos specifically, there are a lot of small business, young entrepreneurs, startup businesses, fintechs. And I find that we need to almost find the balance between what is a hub versus what is co-working, because very often we have loads of hubs. And within the hubs, it's either a case of they've got a funding model, and when the funding dries out, and then things go pear-shaped. And I think that if we are able to leverage the existing places that are there and sort of, I almost want to say, bring them up to speed and bring them on par of what the co-working is, then the hubs can become more functional and they can operate better and service the community that they are in way better. So that each of them, and I'm just thinking if I'm running off the track here, but when it comes to the hubs that we have across the continent, we need to find ways of being self-sustaining. And if they're not self-sustaining, meaning that there's no revenue model the way it is in a co-working space, the hub is not going to be there forever. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we have. We've got loads of hubs to support entrepreneurs and small businesses, but they don't always introduce the financial model.
Hey guys, just breaking in to let you know that we have an amazing event coming up this spring. It's Juicy's 50th in New York City. You need to be in the room, and how you do that is you join us by buying a ticket. You can get your ticket at na.juicy.co, which stands for North America, by the way. And then if you would like to join us in the UK, we've got an event coming up in Manchester and one in London. You can get more details on that at uk.juicy.co. And last but not least, africa.juicy.co. We've got an event coming up in September in Cape Town that we're super excited about. We want to learn what's going on in Africa, and we want to pour everything we can into that continent. If you'd like to have a juicy ad or be a podcast guest or talk to us about sponsorship or anything else, just hit us up at info@gcuc.co. Talk to you soon. Interesting. Yeah, because I was unaware of the hub model. We definitely have spaces here in the US that really focus on entrepreneurs and startups and small business and funding and mentoring. Like in Austin, there's a really great one called Capital Factory. And um, I've always felt like, we can learn from them and they can learn from us. Like they know funding and we know community. So I feel like there's a really good synergy between those. And actually in planning
Mhm.
New York, I'm pulling in a lot of the wellness focused clubs that
Mhm.
offer co-working, but co-working isn't necessarily the first thing. It's like the third
Mhm.
thing. Sometimes it's the
Mhm.
first thing, but it's like really interesting and I want to help pull in these people that are adjacent so we can learn from each other, because I think
Mhm.
that's really interesting, and we should definitely invite all the
Mhm.
hubs.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so, what are some of the strengths of the African community that maybe we don't get enough recognition of globally?
It definitely is going to be the resilience.
Mm,
I mean, it's the resilience and the ability to make something of nothing.
mm-hmm.
Because if you are sitting out in a rural area and there is no support and starting from scratch, I think that is something that is definitely within our favor that we have going for us. Also, the numbers in terms of the population.
Mm,
They are across the continent. The numbers are sitting in Africa. So I would believe that that is ultimately where the human resource is going to come from, because we have the biggest population, the youngest population as well in terms of the
mm.
age, the working group of people. So I think nowadays, now that you can work from anywhere, your talent can come from Africa more so than from anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. One of the things I've seen in the US that we haven't seen in a little while is, post COVID, a few people open co working spaces, but not a lot, right? And now we're starting to see a big resurgence of entrepreneurs opening up, one or two spaces in their town, oftentimes because they need a co working space. Are you guys starting to see a lot of entrepreneurs entering the market on a small scale across Africa?
Definitely, definitely. Also, now with the drive to sort of work closer to home, we're finding
Mhm,
more and more smaller operators in outlying areas. We're also finding that there are
mhm.
small operators that are very industry specific, sort of catering
Yep.
for their industry. So we've got a few of those popping up, whether it's legal and all the legals sort of have their own
Mhm.
little space going. Some of them are design, architectural and design, and they support each other. We definitely have those popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, niches have been happening for a long time,
Mhm.
but I think we'll continue to see that as a trend for a really long time. How is it raising money in Africa for co-working?
Raising money for co-working as membership, or raising money for co-working as
Like, to start a co-working business, how hard is that, do you think?
that
Do you know? Do you have
okay.
visibility to it?
They definitely it depends on your I want to say depend on your landlord and how what type of
Mm,
agreement you get into the landlord, and whether you're getting into the landlord agreement as a lease. Because obviously as a lease, then you're going to have a minimum of your 10 years, and whether or not you can afford that, I want to say the constraints that come with a lease before you start subletting. So that and the capital, obviously, then to fit it out and all of those kind of stuff would be a challenge, right? If you're going into a management agreement, then it's a little bit different. Then you
mhm,
can sort of go to have a discussion with your landlord and make it some sort of partnership and share profit, which is a little bit easier. It depends entirely on where you decide to do that. If it's something that
mhm,
is in a central business district with good access to public transport, then it's a little bit easier. Funding
mhm,
in general, whether it's for co-working or anything else, is a challenge. So any startup business, it's the funding. Where even when you speak to some of the entrepreneurs, the first thing they will tell you is, I struggle to have access to funding. And I think it's partly because most people that are starting businesses are coming from a background of not having, sort of not having wealth
Mhm.
or inheritance.
Mhm.
So you are reliant on someone to say, listen, here is X amount of money to kickstart your business. And if you're not that, that is when you're going to turn to government, and that is also
Yeah.
still limited.
Yeah. So, as far as Juicy Africa, you're hoping to get people from every country to come.
Yeah. So the countries that I'm specifically interested in would be definitely for Kenya,
Mhm.
Accra, Nigeria, Mauritius will be part of that, South Africa,
Mhm.
of course, and then areas like the Uganda, possibly.
Mhm.
I would love to see somebody from Rwanda, specifically Kigali, also
Mhm.
India, and Morocco. So those are the areas
Mm.
or the countries which are doing exceptionally well and where we've got
Mhm.
footprint already, and get them to participate. Yeah.
Yeah, India is off the charts. We've had some discussions with some operators in India as well about doing
Mhm.
a Juicy there. But
Oh,
definitely,
nice.
you guys, everybody is invited to come to Juicy Africa. We're also
Yes.
looking at trying to add on a safari. So there could
Oh,
be
wow.
an
Yeah.
option for a safari. So that's super
Yeah.
exciting. And
Yeah.
Antoinette, you have dates for us, don't you?
I do have dates.
What are
uh,
they?
16 and 17 September 2026 will be the first one, hosted in Cape
All
Town.
right. And you
Yeah, Cape
guys
Town
heard
is
it
my
here.
home.
So you can start planning. Yeah. What's your favorite thing
Yes.
about Cape Town?
Phew. Favorite thing to do. Okay, so there's going to be loads to do, and I'm worried that people are going to end up doing all of the tourist activities as opposed to being at the conference. So I think we're going to
They'll do
seriously have
both.
to do. They'll do both. We'll definitely cater to everybody, and I think the fact that it is such an affordable place for people to come to,
Mhm,
they definitely would want to extend their stay, whether it's come a few days earlier, stay a few days later.
mhm.
Favorite thing to do in Cape Town is obviously the beach. That's me. I do
Yep,
ocean dipping
yep.
as well, so the cold ocean dipping. But I think it's also partly because I get my healing from the ocean. And when I'm
Mhm,
away from home, then I start feeling it.
mm,
But the city has got so much to offer. So if we are able to throw in the safari, if we're able to maybe have some wine tours, because everybody loves wine, so
mhm.
we can literally do a really, really good itinerary for
And I
everybody.
heard you guys have a great food scene as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm
I think
excited to
it's
try the food.
I'm worried that the 2 days are not going to be enough. We're definitely going to.
Well, I think if you're gonna come all the way to South Africa, you're gonna stay a little while. I
Exactly.
know I am.
Exactly. Good.
I'm coming for
Good.
at least a week.
At
At
least a week.
least
Okay.
a week.
Good. I
Yeah,
think I
have
think
to.
most people everybody's going to be coming from outside of the country or outside of Africa
Mhm.
will definitely want to stay longer.
Yeah.
And we've chosen September because our winter runs until July, August. And
Mhm.
by September is when we are now going into spring. And then also just before when it just gets too busy with some of the upcoming conferences. So September was a good day for us.
That's great. Yeah, and it's nicely and it's like September is Africa, October is London, and then November, Jean-Yves just announced yesterday he's gonna be in Paris. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
a fun
Yeah.
fall for me.
Yeah.
So for you, what will success look like for Juicy Africa?
I would love to see a room filled with people, diverse backgrounds,
Mhm.
as well as obviously where they're coming from, but having I want to say, single vision to see the industry go forward, and having conversations about the things that the challenges that they may be facing within the industry. Success would be if somebody walks away and say, you know what, I'm going to go and implement that in my space. Or
Mhm.
I've picked up some tips on what somebody else is doing, and I think it's going to be amazing for my community. And then getting that feedback where somebody says, attending Juicy Africa for the first time in Cape Town has contributed to the success of my establishment, but more importantly, the success of my members. I think that for me
Mhm.
is what it's all about, is what is the impact and how can we benefit not just ourselves, but the people that utilize our spaces.
Yeah, yeah, I love that so much, Antoinette, and that's part of the reason we were so excited to partner with you because you get it. And what we're trying to do with Juicy is help proliferate co-working across the world because if we can help co-working be better, do better, and expand, then we can help more people feel connection and belonging so they don't have to
Mm,
feel so lonely.
mm,
And if we can do that, then we've done a good job.
yeah. I think nothing warms my heart more than when a member says, my business is doing so much better since the time I joined the community. Or
Mhm.
if somebody says, I've employed more people now because I managed to save some
Mhm.
money instead of purchasing or instead of renting a commercial building. Those are the things that sort of make me get up in the morning. It's just knowing that there's our bottom line and there's our community, and then there is that of our members. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting in a co-working space here in Austin that's pretty new, and in fact, they're gonna be on the Juicy podcast next. It's called Jevity, and it's here in Austin, Texas, and I was sitting next to 3 girls, probably are women in their, I would say mid-20s, and they were introducing each other and talking about why they were there, and all they were talking about was how lonely and disconnected they felt at home and
Mhm.
how just it being in the space for like an hour or two, they'd met people, they felt community, they felt like it was like a commercial for co-working.
Mm,
It was so great, and it was so I
mm,
ended up talking with them, and it
mm,
was such a great like, it was like literally like an ad for co-working. These 3
mm,
people that were just like, "This is what I've been looking for." And
mm.
so, I think it's really exciting, and I'm super excited to be working with you and bringing Juicy to Africa. I'm really hoping that we can help get this ripple effect out across more of the world. And so, thank you so much for signing up to do a ton of thankless work.
I think what's helping at this point in time is the time difference. So
Yeah.
I say to myself, sometimes when you study part time, you do your full day at
Hmm.
work, and then you go
Yeah.
and you've got 2, 3 hours
You
in the
got your other
evening, which
job.
exactly. So
Yeah.
for me, the fact that you've just woken up means that if I go home and I do some work, you are literally just a text away because of the time difference,
Hmm.
and I don't have to feel it has
Yeah.
the impact on the day to day.
Yeah.
So yes, it's worked out itself out quite well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, what excites you most about the future of work on the African continent right now?
That all Africans can work for international companies and get paid in foreign
Mm,
currency.
mm,
And that's as simple as what it is.
yeah, love
I
that.
can
Love
now
that.
sit I can now sit and earn US dollars
Yeah,
whilst being on the African continent.
yeah, it's great.
And I think that is a game changer for everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That you
love it.
yeah.
And I love this question. I'm going to bring back an old question that I love because I want to hear it from you. So, take me back to when you were a 12-year-old girl. Where were you? And if you could go back and tell little 12-year-old Antoinette one thing about her future, what would you tell her?
Whew. So 12 when I was 12 years old, I was doing my final year at primary school.
Mhm.
Right? Getting ready for high school. I think one of the things I would tell myself is that one, it will all work out. It always does and it always will.
Mhm.
And that I think if I'd known back then that I shouldn't sit on the fence and actually make decisions, because I've only started taking leaps and taking chances later in my life as opposed to when I was
Mhm.
12. So I was extremely insecure back then. I would sit there on the side and go, okay, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I
Mm.
shouldn't. And you wait for the opportunity. Right now,
Mhm.
I get in
You go
there.
and take it. I
I go
love
in and take it.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. That's amazing growth right there. Good for
Yeah.
you. Good for you. Well,
Thank you.
Antoinette, this has been so awesome. It's gone so fast, as it always does. It's so great.
Yeah.
These podcasts are just like a fun conversation. But you guys, the website's almost done. Antoinette is being very patient while we get it done. And it's going to be up soon. And you will see us announce tickets on social media, on mailing. Sign up for the Africa mailing list so that you'll be the first to know if you're interested in speaking. let us know. We're all ears and plan on coming to South Africa. Let's go support Antonette in the continent of Africa.
Please do. Thank you. We look
Thanks.
forward to having you.
I'm excited. I've never been. I'm very excited. It's bucket list for me.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. This has been another edition of the Juicy Podcast. Thank you, Antonette, for a powerful conversation. What you're building is not just about community, it's about representation, ownership, and making Africa's future of work be shaped by the people who live it every day. And that's important.
Yep.
Thank you for your leadership and for showing up and taking the time out of your own personal life to help us move co-working forward in the world. And for those listening, we'll include the links to Juicy Africa. Sign up for the mailing list and be on the lookout for the tickets. We're going to be announcing them really soon. And again, if you're interested in speaking, it's just Antonette at juicy.co or Liz at juicy.co. All this will be in the show notes. And Antonette, thanks again. And we will see you guys next time.